Hello and welcome to Lockdown Beers and Rugby Chat. Hi, I'm Paul. I'm your host today. Some of the stuff we'll cover today, we'll talk about the Fijian tour of Europe, the end of year tour. We'll also talk about the Samoan tour as well. Obviously, we know that most of those games have been cancelled, but not all of them. The USA has bid for the Rugby World Cup, so I'll have a chat about that. And Moana Pasifika have announced another couple of players. Lockdown Beers helping you through lockdown, folks, not just in Auckland, obviously, and also in the Waikato as well. Just 30 seconds until 5 o'clock, and that's when I'll crack open my beer. I'm on the Export Gold today, and obviously being working from home and stuff, we don't want to be cracking into the beers too early, do we? Hence, putting that 5 o'clock deadline in gives us a bit of discipline in that one. So 10 seconds to go on to that. Hope you are all keeping safe, folks, following the COVID regulations, rules, and also getting vaccinated as well. And so we'll get through all the news from the last 24 hours, and that's it. It's 5 o'clock, so crack open that beer, folks. Turn off that work email and start winding down at the end of the day. And we'll do that by catching up on the news, rugby news from the last 24 hours. And I guess one of the things that I've sort of seen in the on stuff is a video of Sean Wanui's friends and find out doing a hacker for his wife in the kitchen. Like, kind of like, at what point do we kind of let them grieve and stop intruding, I guess, in that kind of stuff? So hence, I think we'll not be going into that in too much detail. Obviously, we'll talk about Sean Wanui at the weekend when we see all of the happenings during games that are remembering him. But I think we'll leave. We'll otherwise, I think it's time to let the family grieve themselves personally. So yes, talking about what is going on then, and the Fiji have announced that due to COVID, I think it's probably a couple of days old now. One of the ones that we forgot to talk about was to say that Fiji has announced to be only using their European-based players for the end-of-year tour up there. This is over quarantine concerns in this one, and so hence Vern Cotter will not be coaching that one, but the Fijian Sevens coach, or who is just leading that role, Gareth Baba, will be taking on that role, and will be joined by Rory Best, the former Ireland hooker and captain, will be helping him with that, as well as Duncan Hodge and Richie Gray. They'll all be helping out with that one. So an all British coaching team for Fiji. It'll be interesting to see how Fiji go in that without obviously their local or their Oceania-based players. Anyway, a beer o'clock there, and so a quick beer for those of you listening on the podcast. Quick beer break for me as I'm on my own this evening. Also. On that one, we were talking about these tours, and Moana Samoa. Sorry, not Moana Pasifika. Manu Samoa will be playing the Barbarians up in England at the end of the tour. Look, they have cancelled the rest of their tour up there due to COVID restrictions, which are basically. That players might not be able to go home for up to 6 months because of the travel restrictions into Samoa, hence why they have pulled out of that one. And you can understand why. So the team will be mainly drawn from European-based players, but also can include Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, and US-based Samoan players. So it'll be interesting to see what the squad looks like. But I say heavily reliant on its European ones. There in that one, and again, it's not the normal management team. They're putting up a separate management team for this one, So again, based or generally based out of other places. So, for example, the co-coaches Limula Tuatasi PC, who is currently coaching in Japan, and Census Johnson, who is with Racing 92, will be the co-coaches for the Samoan team against the Barbarians. So, team manager also residing in London, for example. So yeah, so again, they're putting together a scratch or a makeshift coaching and management team for that game. All of people who are not based down in Samoa. It's because of those travel restrictions. So, look, we hope it goes well. We hope everyone still turns up. There's been a lot of tickets sold for that game. It should be a cracking one against Barbarians. It should be a great festival of rugby at the end of or just after the international window. So, let's hope it goes down well. Dave Rennie is the head coach. Sorry, folks. Just missed the mute button there. Dave Rennie is the head coach for the Barbarians in that one. So let's and a number of players have been named for that one. Quade Cooper was named. Interestingly enough, he said, "No, I'm not actually. I'm not going to play that one." So all a bit in that one. The Barbarians. Someone says a bit strange Samoan Barbarians game at the outside the window. But the Barbarians always play a game outside the window at the end of the November tour. And to see who they can get to play. They've played obviously teams like South Africa in the past who have more access to players. But yeah, good to see Samoa taking up the challenge this year, even if unfortunately they won't be able to use all of those players. Moving on then, and the USA have again. I'm sure this one came out in the last 24 hours or the 24 hours before. But anyway, USA has launched bids for both the men's and women's Rugby World Cups. They're bidding for both the 2027 or 2031 men's Rugby World Cup and for the women's 2029 edition. So 2023, as we know, is going to be in France. So looking at the one after that or the one after that. So it'll be interesting to see who else puts their hats in the ring for this one. I wouldn't be surprised if South Africa have another go. Obviously, very upset they didn't get it when it was in France. So we'll see. I think Australia have also mentioned that they are looking at bidding for these ones as well. So on the men's side, on the women's side, I don't know who is up for who is interested in that one. Obviously, the next one is this year, the 2021 one. Sorry, the 2022 one being held in 2023 is the Women's Rugby World Cup. Here in New Zealand. So obviously they're looking at 2029. One for that, 4 years before that, obviously, would be 2025. So so that's the women's one. So the women's one has obviously been delayed. So there'll be a shorter period between those two Rugby World Cups. Actually, it's been delayed 2 years, hasn't it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The women's one, but anyway, so that's all. So interesting to see that the USA involved in that one. Some people are saying that 2031 is better for the men's tournament, as it means that they've had a trial run in the 2029 women's one. I can see the advantages on the men's one first. Obviously, there's more publicity around the men's one, and that'll raise the awareness of rugby in the USA. That could then mean that there's more interest heading into the women's one. So I can see there's a good reason for having the men's one first ahead of the women's one there. From that point of view, it will help have more interest in the women's game, I would have thought. So which way round it goes, I don't really mind. But I think, yeah, with Major League Rugby obviously expanding over there in the States, it will have been going for a few more years. I could see that could be really successful over there with that one. We'll see which... Simon thinks that 2031 is more likely for them to get that one. I say we'll have to wait and see on that one. I could see that World Rugby would look at somebody like Australia and saying, hey, yeah, look, they really could do the cash boost post-COVID. Let's give it to them from that reason. But we'll have to wait and see as to how that all pans out. I mean, this time round, the World Rugby is not going to recommend a particular one like they did last time. They recommended South Africa, but France got the vote. Obviously, very embarrassing for the for the World Rugby hierarchy to be basically told you're wrong by the unions in that one, and does question the weight of that. Hence why they're not going to do it this time around. So that piece is going on. So yeah, I wouldn't say not many countries are interested in the Rugby World Cup. I think there's plenty of interest in hosting Rugby World Cup. I don't think there's necessarily the same competition in the fact that of having multiple bids, but I think there's always a bid for it. I don't have to go hunting for one such. But the difference is that New Zealand could not host the Rugby World Cup again. It just can't afford to do it. It requires a certain size of country, a certain amount of ticket sales, a certain size of stadiums, and a certain cost around it. So, whereas the Women's Rugby World Cup, obviously the cost and the requirements for it are lower. And so countries like New Zealand, Ireland can afford to host a Women's Rugby World Cup or Georgia or something like that. It doesn't have the same financial commitment and the same risk around it. So, hence, I think there's plenty of countries that will host it. I wouldn't be surprised if Japan were interested in hosting it as well, for example. But I say it's the requirements around it are very different, and obviously the exposure that your country gets for hosting it is also different as well. So, I don't think there's a problem with finding hosts for it. I would say Japan. Sorry, New Zealand's host. Yes, let's hold it this tour 2021, and obviously that'll be next year. Places that have held it before, for example, Wales, Scotland, the Netherlands, Spain, Canada, England, France, and Ireland. So look, a lot of countries there that you would never be in the running for a rugby, men's rugby World Cup. The hosting window could be interesting for America again, because of the clashes with baseball, NHL, NFL as well. So it'd be interesting to see when if they will go for the traditional window to host that as well. I can see a lot of pushback, obviously, from various clubs and stuff if they try to change the global calendar to fit it in. But we'll wait and see as to how that all pans out. Finally, Moana Pasifika have continued their naming of players this today, and we've had two players who have been named today. One of which Stephen Harris and myself did, both of which Stephen Harris and myself talked about during our prediction of the Moana Pasifika squad. One of them we thought would get signed, and one of them we thought wouldn't. But there we go. So they both have out of North Harbour, both Tongan Sevens representatives in Lotu and Fine Inisi. There, so another loose forward and another centre. That takes us up to 10 players now that have been named. Tomorrow we're going to have a triple naming of the side ahead of the what do you call it? Ahead of the basically they're announcing 3 players tomorrow. So far, we've got Skopi Kepu. There's in prop in the locks, Sayoni Tuipulotu. In the loosies, we've got Solomoni Funakai and Lotu Inisi now. Inari as a scrum half. In the fly halves, we've got Christian Leofano and Lincoln McClutchy. And then a whole bunch of centres in Narai Formai, Henry Tafua, Fine Inisi, and Tomasi Alosio as an outside back as well. So that's the 10 we've got so far. As I say, 3 more tomorrow as well. So 3 more. So yeah, it's going to 13 tomorrow. Looking in the live chat, and apparently the Wallabies have just announced their what do you call it? Their side to play Japan. So I will just have a quick Google to see if I can find that that squad. And yep, it has been announced on Twitter. So let's have a quick look as to the rundown of the players that have been announced. So the squad to play Japan this Saturday at a on Saturday 23rd at kick-off for that one in New Zealand time. He's just quickly bringing up the Tribe Sports app, which is what I use because they alter the time zone for you. 5:45 kick-off here in New Zealand. Running through the players, and so James Slipper, Falau Fainga and Tanalea Tupu are the front row. So we're not messing around here with the Wallabies. We are looking at a pretty much a full strength side. We're not looking at so taking Japan extremely seriously. Isaac Rodder and Matt Phillip are the in the engine room. Rob Leota, Michael Hooper, and Rob Valentini are your loose trio there. Nick White and Quade Cooper will be in the halfback combination. Obviously, a lot of speculation as to whether Quade Cooper would be what do you call it? Would be available for this game, but clearly he is, which is good to see. Hunter Paisami coming in for Karevi, who is out injured, and he'll be partnered by Len Ikitau in the centres, with a back three of Andrew Kellaway taking over the 11 jersey from Corabetti, Tom Wright coming on the right wing, and Reece Hodge at fullback. Off the bench, Connell McKerney will get his hopefully debut in the 16 jersey off the hooker, with Angus Bell and Alan Alatoa the replacement props. Darcy Swain and Pete Samu round out the forwards replacements. In the backs, Tate McDermott, James O'Connor, and Jordan Pataya are the replacements there. So, pretty much steady as she goes. Obviously, Karevi and Corabetti missing. But apart from that, I think it's pretty much, and Rob Leota maybe in the 6 jersey. Not sure if he was there last time. He only got 2 test caps. But apart from that, so I say just a couple of changes there. Otherwise, this is a full strength side from the Wallabies, as we saw in the Rugby Championship to take on Japan. So I say, giving Japan full respect. Side, let's be honest, that we're expecting to see in the Rugby Championship in the near future, with that one after their great performance in their home Rugby World Cup in 2019, where they made it through to the quarterfinals. It should be a cracking game there. Now, Japan looked a bit undercooked when they played during the mid-year test window against British and Irish Lions, and where they lost in the British Irish Lions opening game, which was lost at 28-10, and then they played Ireland and lost 39-31 in that one. So look, remember that's Ireland without their British and Irish Lions as well. So you got to let's hope we are seeing a very competitive Japan side there. The Brave Blossoms up against the Wallabies in that one. Should be a cracking game. Only problem is that it's going to overlap with the Ranfurly Shield action this weekend. So unfortunately, you're going to have to make a choice as to what you watch. Just a quick reminder as to the action this weekend. We've got Otago versus Canterbury at 7 p.m. On Friday night. Join me. I'll be watching that one. So join me on Twitter at Driving Mall, chatting about that. Saturday, we've got Taranaki versus Manawatu at 2 o'clock. Wellington versus Southland at 4:35. At 4:45, we've got the kickoff of the Japan versus Wallabies, and then the Ranfurly Shield game at 7 o'clock. Hawke's Bay versus Waikato. Actually, so look, there won't be any overlap with that one. So straight out of the Wallabies international game, straight into the Ranfurly Shield That should be a cracking evening of rugby there. And then on Sunday, early in the morning, we've got the USA versus the All Blacks at 8:30 a.m., followed by at 2 o'clock. Oops, wrong button there. 2 o'clock, we've got Bay of Plenty versus Northland. I'll be at Bay of Plenty versus Northland in Tauranga Domain. So do come and follow me for post-match interviews on that one. That's it, folks. Stay safe. Tomorrow we'll bring you our Friday show and bring you all our rugby predictions for the weekend as well. We'll run through all those games and give you our margins. And stay safe. Stick to the rules, please. Get yourself vaccinated. Let's get back to normality as quickly as possible. This is, I think, the 51st episode of these lockdown beers I've done, which, let's be honest, I didn't expect to be doing this many when we went into lockdown the first time. But unfortunately, that's what it is. Reach out to your friends, folks. I know that the numbers weren't good today, and a lot of people were feeling anxious and nervous around that, and probably angry as well. So please, folks, take a few breaths, talk to each other, be there for each other, and let's come out of this one and get back to normality as quickly as possible. Where's my end button?